not easy in the wind, but got it done.
So today I have my penultimate workout before the Copenhagen Marathon 2024. Just 11 days to go until the big day, and I have one of my last sessions today, which I thought I would film. I'm excited also to announce that I have Soar running on board for the remainder of the Copenhagen comeback series. I first started working with Soar running actually 2 years ago now at the Copenhagen Marathon 2022, so it's quite fitting that it's come full circle and I've got them on board as sponsors for the remainder of this series and into the race, which is great because I absolutely love their kit. Some of the kit that I was using 2 years ago, I'm still using to this day. The quality of it really shines through. And also stay tuned to the end of this video where I'll be doing a competition with Soar to win a racing system of your choice and also a 15% off discount code. But yeah, today's workout is 2x6K at marathon pace. It's the final bit of work before Copenhagen. My taper has begun. I sort of do like a 2 to 3 week taper before every marathon. So that started last week. Mileage has started to come down. My legs are starting to freshen up, and hopefully today's session will go well. I'm going to be doing it down in Colchester on a nice loop with Liam on the bike. But yeah, I'm going to jump in the car and then I'll talk you a little bit more through how the session will look, what sort of paces I'm aiming for, looking ahead at Copenhagen in just 11 days time. So we just got down to Abbey Fields. This is one of my old training grounds when I used to train with the Harriers, probably about 2 years ago. So shout out to the Colchester Harriers. Just getting my watch set up. We're going to do 2x6K today at marathon pace. So hopefully at around 320 to 322 per kilometre, which is roughly what I'm going to be aiming for in Copenhagen if all goes well after today's session. So I've literally just set it up into my watch. 6K run, 1K recovery. I'm also going to switch shoes in between the reps because I want to try out 2 different shoes that I'm thinking about using for Copenhagen. So one's the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris and the Alpha Fly 3. So going to test them out, see how they feel, and then I'll make the decision going into race week which ones I'm going to use. But yeah, got the watch all ready now. Wearing a heart rate monitor today as well so we can get some good data. But let's get started. So the purpose of today's session is to just try and lock into that marathon pace ahead of Copenhagen. So hopefully around 320 to 322 is what I'm aiming for today. Maybe that's a little bit ambitious for Copenhagen, but we'll see in a few weeks' time. It's a sort of reduced session in my taper, 2x6K, so there's only 12 kilometers of volume at sort of marathon pace, and the intensity is not too bad either. We shouldn't really exceed more than sort of 6-7 out of 10 in terms of relative effort, because the last thing you want to do 2 weeks before a race is fill your legs with fatigue and then be knackered by the time you get to the start line. So yeah, today is all about doing a good session, getting some confidence, fit at sort of marathon pace, but not doing too much ahead of the race in 12 days time. So not many more sessions to go now. This is the penultimate one mini one next week, sort of 4 days out from the race, and then we'll be good to go. So yeah, excited to tick this one off. Okay, so that's the 3K warm-up done. I think it's about 4:30 pace, sorry. I'm just going to swap into the first shoes today. So these are the first contenders for Copenhagen, the Alpha Fly 3. I wore the original Alpha Fly for my first Copenhagen Marathon. So yeah, these are definitely contenders. And the other option is the slightly lighter Metaspeed Sky Paris. So 6K in these today, and I'm going to do 6K in these, have a little look at the stats later on, and then basically decide from there what I'm going to wear next Sunday. So yeah, swap into these, few strides and drills, and then we'll get started on the session.
3, 2, 1. Let's go.
So here we are, the penultimate workout before the Copenhagen Marathon 2024. Training has gone really well up until this point, and it's all about just freshening up now and really getting locked into that race pace. So that was the purpose of today's session, sort of hit that 320 to 325 per kilometre, test out a few shoes, the kit that I'm going to be wearing, and just try and get comfortable in and around that race pace. So this loop down in Colchester, Abbey Fields, if you're local, you'll know the route. It's around 2 to 2.5 kilometres per lap. It's fairly flat, a little bit of a decline on one side and an uphill on the other, but it's a nice honest loop to get this sort of workout done where the reps are a little bit longer in length. This section of the course that I'm on now was a little bit on the windy side, so I remember looking down at my watch at this point and noticing that my average pace had slowed down a little bit, but I was keen just to maintain that sort of marathon effort across this session and not overcook things going into race week next week. The alpha flies are feeling good. They're a little bit softer than the Asics, which I'm planning to use in the second rep of this workout. But yeah, they're definitely one of the best carbon racing shoes on the market at the moment, hence why they made it into the sort of short list. So that's the little uphill section navigated and coming round to the end of the first lap. I think I was averaging around 324 per kilometre in the conditions. I would have liked to be a little bit faster, but again, I made sure I maintained that sort of marathon pace effort in this first rep, not wanting to overdo it. And yeah, just coming down the hill on the last section of this rep before coming to the end of the first 6 kilometres.
Oh, first rep done. Struggling with a bit of stomach pain today, but see if we can get through it.
Here I am just changing from the Alpha Fly into the Sky Paris. Took about a minute and a Morton gel there, practicing some fueling for race day.
Here we go then, rep number 2. Swap shoes, let's them up to speeds, and we've got one more 6k loop to go. Let's do this. 3, 2, 1.
And as I was saying there, before starting that second rep, I was struggling with a little bit of almost cramping in my abdominals. The day before this workout, I'd done an ab workout. So yeah, it was a little bit tight, and I could feel my sort of obliques were a little bit more fatigued than maybe the rest of my body. Legs were feeling fresh, but yeah, my stomach was a little bit uncomfortable, but in this second rep it eased off. One of my rules going into race week is I don't do any strength and conditioning, just to allow my body to be completely fresh on the start line. The last thing you want is heavy legs from doing heavy squats in the week. So yeah, general rule for me, going into a race week, I cut my strength and conditioning regime.
Oh my god, this wind is terrible.
As you can hear from cameraman Liam there, he was struggling as well in the wind on that section, and here we are going up the slight incline. These shoes for me feel definitely favourable than the Alpha Fly. They're a little bit less soft, so I sometimes feel like I'm sinking a little bit in the Alpha Fly, whereas this foam is a little bit more bouncy and responsive. As a mid-foot striker, that's just a personal preference for me. I feel a little bit snappier underfoot, and I just generally feel more comfortable at marathon pace. So I think, barring disaster, these will be my marathon choice shoe for Copenhagen.
Woo. There we go. Second 6k done. Not easy in the wind, but got it done. So I'm just out on my cool down. Overall, the session went okay. It probably felt a little bit harder than I would have liked today. But hey ho, the wind was probably a little bit stronger than I thought, and hopefully there's no wind in Copenhagen. So I think in terms of splits, I'll have to have a look when I get home at the data, but it's a little bit slower than I would have liked. I think averaged about 324 per k for both reps. In terms of the shoes, there's definitely a favourite in my head in terms of which one feels better, but I'm going to have a look at some of the data over the next few days and then make that decision before next week. So yeah, I'll talk about my race kit in the next video on the channel, but yeah, penultimate session today. Didn't go perfectly, but ticked it off. Just going to finish the cool down and then yeah, I'm going to head home for some lunch.
So I just got back from the session and had some lunch. Turkey ragu. Look at that. Oh my god, burnt my windpipe. It's a nice one to tick off. I didn't quite hit my target paces this morning. I think I averaged 324s in the Alpha Flies, which I wore first, and then 325s in the Metaspeed Sky. I'm still sort of I'm in an hour in between the two. I personally feel like this one feels more comfortable at marathon pace for me. But on to the session, yeah, it went well. Didn't quite hit my splits as I said, but it was quite windy, and the loop we used is a little bit undulating. There's a downhill section on one side and an uphill section on the other. So all in all, I think the main thing was I was trying to aim for that marathon paced effort. I didn't feel like I was overreaching at that sort of 3:25 per kilometre pace, and that is after all my personal best pace, 3:25, which is what I ran in Boston in April last year. So I think I'm in or around my PB shape. Definitely not 220 shape at the moment, but maybe somewhere in between that 220 and 225. We will see come race day, and I've still got a few days to refine my plan. But going off that session, I've definitely got a bit more of an idea of where I think my marathon pace sits in relation to the rest of my training. I was wearing these new half tights today, known as the speed shorts from Soar, these jazzy ones. And I just wanted to do a bit of a weight comparison between these speed shorts from Soar and probably one of the most popular shorts on the market from Nike. These are the Aero Swift ones, which are really good. I like both these shorts, but I want to show you the main difference between the two, and that comes down to the weight. When you're wearing the Soar ones, it literally feels like you've got nothing on, which for a race is perfect, especially for a short distance race, which these ones are suited for. I'm going to be using a slightly different pair of speed shorts for the race day, ones which have these loops in for marathon running. They can just basically help you carry your gels. If I chuck them on the scales here, the Soar ones in my men's size small weigh 66 grams, which is absolutely nothing. The material is very, very thin, very high quality, all heat bonded seams, which just help keep that weight down to the minimum. Whereas you compare that to the Nike Aero Swift, they weigh in 134 grams in my men's size small. So literally the Soar half tights are around half the weight of the Aero Swift ones from Nike, and overall I just really like how they fit and feel when running at that sort of pace. So yeah, highly would recommend having a look at these. Yes, they are a little bit more expensive, but they are built to last. These are the highest quality split shorts that I have tried, half tight, sorry. So yeah, check them out on the Soar website. Now Soar and I are also hosting a bit of a competition over the last few weeks of my training block and into the race day to give away a race system. If you want to enter that competition, there's a link in the description. Simply sign up with your email and you enter yourself into that competition. Everyone who enters will get an access code for 15% off at Soar Running. So if you want to enter, there's a link in the description, and that competition, as I said, will run for the course of these last few weeks of my training block. So get down in the description, give it a go, and check out Soar, who are the sponsors of today's video. But yeah, today's session went all right. I would have liked to hit my splits with 2 weeks to go into the marathon, but I've got to remember I'm not fully tapered yet. It was quite windy and an undulating loop, so hopefully come race day I can sort of make that 322 to 324 per kilometre feel nice and comfortable on race day. But yeah, only 11 days to go now. But thanks for watching. Aspire to run, run to inspire, and we'll see you again soon.